hey, I want you to know I don't really believe you're here for grades and glory. You're a rare bird, Coriolanus. And I'm just like, no he's not, he's a freaking snake. Hey guys, my name's Angus and today we're going to be discussing perhaps my most anticipated book of this year, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So this is the prequel novel to the wildly successful Hunger Games trilogy, which was first published over 10 years ago now. This book is set 64 years before the events of the Hunger Games, and it follows Coriolanus Snow as he is a mentor in the 10th annual Hunger Games. So I'm going to start off this review with my overall thoughts about the novel. They're going to be non-spoilery, so if you haven't read the book yet, you're free to stay for now. I'm just going to be discussing some of my thoughts on the style and the execution of the novel, but I will give a big warning when we get into the spoilery section. This book for me feels like such a step outside the original trilogy. Like, it's definitely not the Hunger Games that we know. For starters, it's written in third instead of first person like the original series was, and it deals with a time in history that is so different from the Panem we know that it's almost unrecognizable. I really did enjoy how fresh and grown up this novel felt compared to the original series, and the way it danced through some of the more complex topics it brings up that you don't even think about considering when reading the original trilogy. This book is also leaning more towards the new adult genre, which I think makes sense considering most of the people who are reading this book are not teenagers anymore, they've grown up, and so I thought that was a really clever decision. I forget how sneaky Miss Suzanne Collins is. You really cannot stop reading this book between chapters. I kept telling myself I was going to finish one more chapter and then something happens at the end of the chapter and you just have to keep going. The only way to pause in this book is like mid-chapter. So overall, I had a really great time reading this. It was really great to see how all the elements are put into place to set up the events of the Hunger Games. And it was so fun re-entering the world of Panem from a different point in history. My only main gripe with Songbirds and Snakes was how heavy the fan service was. I felt like every second chapter we were name dropping something we were supposed to like pick up and go, I remember that name. I just felt like it could have been integrated a lot better than it was. In saying that though, I did enjoy seeing things that we recognize and names that we recognize. That's just my thoughts. I thought we could have weaved that in a little bit better. I also still have so many questions after this book that I'll get into in my spoilery section, but for me this book didn't answer all the questions that I wanted it to. But yeah, overall for me, I really enjoyed jumping back into Panem. I really enjoyed how Suzanne Collins has aged up her writing to fit her 2020 audience, who were teenagers when they read the original trilogy but are now pretty much adults. At the moment, I gave this book 4 stars. I don't know if my rating will change, but I was really happy with how this panned out. I didn't go into it with too high expectations and I definitely was impressed. So that's it for the non-spoilery section. So if you haven't read this book, go away and read it now and then come back and we can discuss. I'm going to jump into spoilers right now. So yeah, go read, come back. Spoilers are coming. You've been warned. Get out of here. All right, first of all, I still have so many questions. Like, we still don't know how Snow rose to power as a president. The fallout between him and Tigris, we have no idea about that. The scars in his mouth and how he got them, like the incident that got them. I know they might have been just a build up over time, but I was really hoping for something there that like started that. I really felt like Suzanne Collins was almost setting up for another book. And I know that sounds crazy and I'm probably crazy, but there's definitely room for more here. I feel like she could write another book in a few years, but I also think I'm crazy for thinking that. So there's no way. Unless, right up when we start this book, the first thing I noticed that really made me laugh. So you know like how in most books, before the prologue, there's like one quote on the page that's like some profound quote from literature that's supposed to tie in with a novel? Well, Miss Suzanne Collins decided that her novel was so important, she put 5. There's 5 quotes here. Ranging from the Bible to government treaties to ballads to major books in literature history like Frankenstein. Like Queen, she knows how important this book is to us and she knows how much of a deal she is. The first chapter of this book is so dense with information. We learn a bit about Tigris, about Snow's family, the academy, and we even get a name dropping of Heavensby Hall. I really wish we went into more detail about the Heavensby family. Like, were they all rebellious like Plutarch, or was it just him? I really would have liked to know a little bit more. I know there is a Heavensby character, but we don't really spend much time with him. We learn about Coriolanus' nickname, which is Koyo. Koyo, I think that's how you say it. I was not a fan of this one. It's so odd. And it just reminded me of Oreos. I don't know why, like Koryo, Oreo. Couldn't get my head around that one. I felt so forced. I was really surprised to hear about how the Hunger Games started, like how unpopular it was with people in the capital. No one really liked it. No one really wanted to watch it. And you weren't forced to watch it in the beginning, which was really interesting. Like, as if anyone's gonna watch it if you don't have to watch it. Like, and the fact that the games were so primitive, like they just chucked everyone into like the Colosseum arena, fought to the death. It usually lasted like a few days and that was it. They didn't even clean up the bodies afterwards. They just sat there to rot until next year. That's crazy. That's the thing. This book was so graphic and I can definitely see how it's leaning towards an older audience. Some of the imagery in here is definitely not appropriate for like the audience that the original books are marketed towards. In saying that, of course, the whole premise of the book is kids killing each other, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. There was this little detail in the first few chapters about the reaping being on the 4th of July, which I don't think is in the original trilogy. I thought that was really neat how she just chucked that in there. Like, Independence Day becomes Reaping Day. Yikes, is that a look into our future? It was really hard having such a twisted main character leading us through this journey. Like, I kept finding myself almost liking Snow and then he would do something horrible and it's just like, bam, slap in the face. You remember who this man is and who he's gonna be when he grows up. Like, even from chapter 2, one of my favorite characters, Suzanne, is so upset that he has to mentor someone from his home district because it's literally his hometown and he knows this boy. And then President Snow is just like, so 10 years in the capital and the privileged life it provides has been a waste on Sejanus. Sentimental nonsense. Like, what the hell? This guy is twisted. As I said, Sejanus is one of my favorite characters. I really like the crazy dynamic he brought to being like President Snow's best friend, I guess. I know he keeps saying he's not his friend, but he's like his closest ally. And he's so rebellious. He made things so interesting and his tragic downfall, oh, it just added such a layer of complexity to this novel that I really enjoyed. The way Snow used him though, my God. All right, let's talk about my favorite character, Miss Lucy Gray. Oh my God, from the moment we meet her, you just know she's gonna be excellent. And she steals the show throughout this whole book. I love how far Suzanne Collins drew this character from Katniss. I was so worried that they were gonna be so similar, but you can really tell they're completely different characters and they have a completely different feel about them, which I loved. Not once when I was reading this did I ever find parallels between her and Katniss, which was excellent. I thought it was really interesting to hear about how much the capital suffered during the war. Like, you don't really think about it. I always thought they had the upper hand, but the fact that people were turning to cannibalism to survive in the capital, that's insane. Like, they're living in these crazy houses, but they have no food, no power, and they're eating each other. What the hell? Is this a dark look into our future? Maybe. So as I said, there's like absolutely no luxury surrounding the games at this time in history, and the tributes are transported in a freighter. They're not fed at all, and they're put in a zoo. I really did enjoy the scene at the zoo though. The way that Lucy and Coriolanus work together to make the best out of the situation was excellent. I really enjoyed that scene. But then one of the tributes slices the throat of their mentor in front of everyone on camera, and just things go insane. But I was really interested to see what they were going to do about a tribute death, because we haven't seen that before. You know, were they going to replace them, have another reaping? I was kind of hoping that they would replace them, but it turns out they just didn't bother putting an extra person in. As we know, a lot more people die and they just end up going in with half the amount of tributes, which feels like a cop-out. I don't know. You know, yeah, I really thought they were going to do another reaping, or maybe they'd send some traitorous capital kids into there. For a little bit, I was worried Sejanus was going to end up in there, which of course he does on his own accord, but I thought they were going to send him in to be killed. Because that boy and all of his treasonous remarks, my God, what a reckless boy. There's this one line on page 123 where Lucy Gray says to Coriolanus, "Hey, I want you to know I don't really believe you're here for grades and glory. You're a rare bird, Coriolanus." And I'm just like, no, he's not. He's a freaking snake. Watch out, Lucy Gray. You gotta have your back, girl, around this man. There's so much more that I just don't have time to talk about. Like the corpse of the tribute who on the crane at the funeral. What the hell? So we have the bombing at the arena before the games even start. And we don't really find out who was in charge of this. We're told it was the rebels, but I don't know if I believe that. It felt like a loose string to me. Like it didn't really mean anything in the end. Like sure, it killed off some more people and added to the chaos that is the 10th Hunger Games. As we know, they erase it from memory because it's such a mess. But other than that, nothing really comes of it. I mean, it did give Lucy a chance to prove herself as trustworthy. Like she saves Coriolanus, which was cool. All right, let's talk about Dr. Gall, because my God, did I hate this woman. She was so annoying. Her little rhymes, I really could have done without that. I was so sure that Clemmy was going to end up turning into one of those snakes after she got bitten, and then Dr. Gall was going to put her in the arena to taunt Snow. I was so sure. I was like betting on it. But no, things actually turned out pretty good for Clemmy, didn't they? She ended up getting the prize money for uni, didn't she? I feel like she did. Okay, Lucky Flickerman. Now, maybe it becomes a family business for the Flickermans to host the Hunger Games, but my God, Lucky is not very good at it. I understand he had a pretty terrible games to work with, but just some of his choices of words to say and jokes to make, I was very much cringing. Like the magic trick he did with the Dean, could have done without that one. So this is the first time we get a proper outside look at the games. Like usually we're on the inside with the tributes, with Katniss, seeing everything that's going on around us. But this time we got to be with Snow as he's watching. And the fact that we didn't know where the tributes were all the time was interesting. Like usually they have a tracker, so we've always got cameras on someone, but it must have been so boring to watch because half the time, like 90% of the time, there's no one on the screen. Everyone's hiding. The games really did suck. Like there was nothing special about them at all. It was just kids going to an arena to kill each other. And, you know, you can watch if you want. We don't really care. So the rat poisoning in the arena, I thought this was clever, except for the fact that he chose to use a Snow family heirloom to sneak it in, like as if that's not a dead giveaway of where it came from. Idiot boy. As soon as he pulled it out, I knew it was going to come back to bite him in the ass. I did like that that was our first taste of seeing President Snow experiment with poison, because as we know, that becomes his weapon of choice, and he goes on to use it throughout his career to get to becoming the president. The tributes in this story are so much more rebellious than in the original trilogy. Like out here killing their mentors, Reaper wearing the flag like a cape and then rearranging all the bodies like they're in a morgue. Like Katniss could never. And then after the whole debacle with Suzanne going into the arena, idiot boy, Prologue is like pining to get some money out of his dad. Like this boy is twisted, I'm telling you. He leaves the place all grumpy like, oh, that was a waste of time. I didn't even get any money out of this man. Jesus Christ. The ending of part 2 gave me whiplash. Like Lucy Gray wins, we're all excited, and then bam, Dr. Gall and the Dean come in and are like, look at this, look at this, look at all this evidence. And then he's on his way on the train out of here. Insane. Who would have thought that President Snow served as a peacekeeper? And then after that, part 3, I read so fast, I was just aching to know what happened. Yeah, President Snow goes to District 12 to find Lucy, obviously. And then Sejanus comes along, which I was so glad for. I really loved his character, but it was so sad to see how he got used and eventually ended up dead because of Coriolanus. I feel like Billy Talk could have been a more useful character. Like he's there, Snow hates his guts because he's a jealous little boy. I mean, I guess Snow does kill him, and I don't know, he could have done a little bit more, ruffled some more feathers a little bit. Poor Sejanus, that betrayal hit me so hard because he was such a nice boy. He just missed District 2. What an absolute asshole Snow is. I don't know how anyone can come out of this book thinking that this book is meant to make us like Snow, because there is no way in hell that we are meant to like this man. And then reading the last chapter was so stressful. You just know something's gonna happen to mess things up, and then officers' school, and then there's the guns in the forest, and then poor Lucy Gray. I wish we got to know what happened to her, because that was so tragic. She just disappears and no one knows where she went. Everything that happened, it was all her. Like she carried Snow the whole way. Her performances, her singing. And then after all that, the epilogue made me so mad. Like Snow becomes the plinth heir after effectively killing their son, and he's getting all their money. We learn that Snow's dad created the Hunger Games, which I thought was interesting. And then Lucy Gray is missing, and the music is banned in District 12. No more music is allowed. And then Snow poisons the Dean, and that's it. That's all we get. What a monster of a man, though. This definitely did feel unfinished to me. Like, I still have so many questions. We still really don't know how Snow became president. I'm sure there's more to this about his story of how he got to the top. Him and Tigris's fallout, that would have been cool to see a bit about that. A bit more about the evolution of the games too, because I'm sure he is the reason they are what they are in the original trilogy. We can kind of see that it's going to be him that changes them up completely. I don't know what she's planning, but I wouldn't be surprised if Suzanne Collins had another prequel book in a few years. I feel like there's room, so I would look out for that if I were you. She's definitely going to give us something more. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the book. Don't spoil the book in the comments, please, because there are going to be people here who haven't read the book, but let me know just your overall thoughts. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.